our live streamings. How's everybody doing? Again, these are my first streamings, so hopefully everything is working fine. You guys can hear me. Let me open the chat. In case something is not working, just let me know, and I will make sure that that everything it's working and I can fix it. So I see notifications, which means maybe somebody is already watching this live. Awesome. So yeah, I will continue in trying to answer as many questions as possible that I get online in my DMs, to clarify a lot of the confusion that I see online about technique, about everything that I can help out with my what I know about drums. I've been teaching for many years consistently. I've actually developed a real passion for teaching. It's not something that I do to make an extra buck in between tours. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that is a common thing, which makes a lot of sense, because a lot of people, especially who can tour and has been able to build a career touring, has things to show and has things that worked for them to share. So they do that when they're not home. I actually took this whole thing to a different level of interest and passion, and I have dived deeper into the research. I went to France, the University of Nantes, to participate also to a biomechanic research study that Orally and the drums biomech guys did, and it was amazing. And so I really kind of like tried to understand as deep as possible whatever is happening in our body, technically, at a muscular level, at a brain level, and so all of that. So it is a pleasure for me to do this and to try to share, some of the stuff that I've discovered and that I taught and then I tested and then I saw working. This is going to be more of a generic format, in the sense that I just get random questions online and I try to answer them. If you have questions during the live streaming, please feel free to write them in the chat so that I feel we're together and I'm not on my own here, just with the camera in front of me. But anyway, I will get a bunch of questions, try to kind of like generically explain what happened in those cases, in those situations. But if you guys want a more in-depth kind of like interaction with me directly, where I can see what's happening and what you're doing, I do these live streamings on my website, jamespaintdrums.com, every week. And people basically, when you subscribe, you have access to courses, you have access to lessons, you have access to workouts, live streamings, and you guys practice through the courses or on your own. And then if you have questions or things that are not clear, you can just send me a video, join the live streaming and ask the live streaming. You can share your camera and show me what you're doing. You can write in the forum. Like, we can do it in a more personal way so that you guys have some guidance and you don't get stuck. But during the week, if something happens, you can send a question and we do it together, okay? If you're interested in checking that, there's a QR code in the top corner somewhere. You can scan there and you have 7 days free to join the website. So you can check it out, see if you like it, see if it brings value to you, and if it's something that would work for you. Then I'll see you in there and I'll meet you in a more personal way. But for now, let's get into some questions that I get. I will start from what I got from YouTube. So I was talking about how we deal with the spring tension depending on the speed at which we're playing, right? So if we're playing slower, we will eventually use a leg motion approach. So the leg will kind of deal with the weight of the spring, with the tension of the spring, because there's weight. Okay, we're using a lot of, like, the bones and the muscles are heavy, so no matter what spring tension we have, most of the time the weight of the leg just kind of like deals with the spring tension, and that's a very instinctive approach. Usually when we sit down at the drums, the first thing we do is just use leg motion. We don't immediately develop techniques that allows us to kind of have more control of the pedal and all of that. The problem starts when we start to speed up, and we usually end up in this situation where we get stuck. So that's where you want to shift in isolating the leg. So leg motion, the motion starts from here, ankle motion, the motion, like I block this section and the motion is down there, okay? And that depends on the speed of the spring tension. So your pedal has a natural speed. If you let it swing, it will have a momentum, a motion. So you want to keep that as a reference, and then when you go from that speed to slower, you want to use the leg motion, because you have to go and work against the spring tension. But instead, when you want to go from this speed to faster, you want to use the ankle motion, because you want to take advantage of the spring tension. A lot of people do the opposite. They kind of like, not the opposite, but they still work against the spring. Hey Jeff, good to see you, man. Jeff is actually the man behind all of the website and everything, so it's awesome to see you here with us. Yeah, so having the, like, working against the spring with the ankle, it's going to be something that limits the control that we have, right, on the pedal, because we are not taking advantage of the pedal, of the spring tension, but we're actually working against it, but with small articulation like the ankle and like parts that are not as strong as you know, as the weight of the leg motion itself. So the question in specific is, so when using the leg motion, we ignore the spring tension settings. We bypass it in a way. We don't care about it. Only when we engage ankle motion, we're interested in the spring tension, correct? That is correct. There is one thing that has to be said, though, about the leg motion. Okay, this is important thing. This is for everybody that is having a hard time from going from 100 to 150, 160 BPMs, okay? So that's a range where we use leg motion mainly, because it's too slow for ankle. So we already understand the point of control comes from the leg motion. Now, we have two different types of leg motions, basically. Not in the up motion, not in going up, but in the landing. So doing it without the pedal. One is the flat foot, where we land with the foot, the whole entire sole of the foot, so of the shoe. So we do something like this. So I raise the foot in this position, then I land like that. And so what this does, it creates a whipping motion, right? So it creates like the molar, like an accent. It's the same principle. If you observe it, what is happening, it's exactly the same type of like whipping motion. And this translates on the pedal with a lot of power. Problem is that when we start to speed up and we do that, creates a lot of tension. We end up like this, and we end up kind of like with a lot of physical fatigue. So what we want to get to a point where we switch into a constant leg motion, which means a leg motion that it's kind of like for constant strokes. And okay, so Basically what changes is that when we start to speed up this leg motion, we don't want to land with a flat foot every time, because the flat foot would create too much tension, guys, okay? But we want to keep the ankle relaxed, the ankle deactivated. So we want to basically go up in the same fashion as the stroke before, and then we want to land toes first, heel after, right? And this happens when we do this for a slow stroke, like for a single stroke. We feel like we have no power. We feel like there's no stroke, like we're lacking power. So if you're right-footed, and you probably have no problem in playing a single stroke with the right foot, but if you try to do the same thing with the left foot, you might feel like you have no power. You push down a lot, but nothing happens. Like it doesn't really translate into a comfortable, louder stroke. So that's because you're using the constant motion approach instead of the whipping motion approach, which generates the volume by already taking advantage of the spring tension. So this is a little bit of a confusing thing, because it's the same basically motion. It's both our leg motion, but depending on how we land, one creates a whipping motion, and so it generates extra tension because we have to raise the foot and then land, and that's where the whipping motion happens, but it gives us a very loud, isolated stroke, right? So if you want to play one stroke, you would do that. When you start to speed this up, you don't have enough time to every time create the tension and land with a flat foot. So that creates a constant tension. The foot stays in constant tension. You don't want that, because it becomes hard technically. So you want to actually relax the ankle and just let it do a motion like this, where it's only the momentum between the pedals swinging and the leg work that it's going to generate the stroke and give more volume. Okay, you see how my ankle is relaxed? There's this is what I'm doing here, and it's just because the pedal is moving that I am generating volume. And so then when you start to speed this up and you go in the lower part of the pedal board, because if you do this here and then you speed up, you will end up again using a lot of the work of the legs. But instead, if you go in the lower part, you will basically use less space of the pedal, and this covers all the range from 100 to 160 BPM, guys. I will show you. I will play from 100 to 160 BPM. And let me find the metronome, and I will show you where I put my foot. There's two things that you have to pay attention to here. Okay, 100 BPM. The two things to pay attention to are heel height, low or high, and where I'm placing my foot on the pedal board. The calibration of these two things will allow me to find a fulcrum point on the pedal, a comfortable fulcrum point on the pedal. Okay, so we'll start with 100 BPMs, which is going to be full leg motion. And you see my foot is all the way up, and it's mainly all coming from here. My ankles are, let's say I feel like zero activation of the ankles. They're just moving as a consequence. 110. Very similar. I start to feel like a little bit less motion. I want to have a little bit less motion. Now, 120. Oh my God. Okay, here I start to go a little bit more towards the center of the pedal board. Okay, so same heel height, barely same motion, but more towards the center. 130. Even more in the center, guys. If you observe my toes are in a completely, they're not in the same place where I started from. I started from way higher on the pedal board. So same motion, just changing the position of 140. I'm going back up. Why? Because I'm starting to use a little bit more ankle motion. You see how my leg motion is not as active anymore? The ankle starts to do a little bit of the work here. Okay, so I need to activate and move 140, 150. Even more up. My legs are almost completely still. Not completely still yet. There's still a little bit of activation. I've lost the timing, but heck, yeah. Okay, I'm back on the pedal board. Okay, I'm back on top here. I went all the way down. 160. Ankle motion. Okay, guys. Okay, so this is an example to show you how to deal with all that range. That range starts from a complete leg motion. As we increase the speed, first of all, we want to use that approach that I mentioned, not the flat foot technique, but like letting the ankle relax, so more of a constant motion. Then we change the position on the pedal board. Then we start to introduce a little bit of ankle, and then we switch to complete ankle motion. And we raise the heel. I didn't mention the heel, but if you go back and watch this video once it's posted, in this section you will see how you can compare. You can see for each BPM how my foot position was. Now, that also depends on several things. How high you're sitting, how close you are to the pedals, your pedal setting, your spring tension, your motion development, if you have developed a good ankle motion or you're still developing it, if you have tension, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of factors that change once you get into this. But conceptually, this is what needs to happen. And I say this because I've done this on many different situations, like on different pedals, on different drum kits, and like for different tempos, like 6 couplets, 8 notes, 16 notes, and so on. Okay, so I know that more or less this is the mechanism that needs to be developed to cover this range of motion. Okay, so this is 100 to 160 BPMs. I just demonstrated live. This is live, so it's just. I don't want to convince you. I just want to show you how comfortable it is when you mix. Like you just take advantage of the design of the pedal. You keep the ankle deactivated, and they move just as a consequence of what's happening on the top part, on the hip flexor level, and then and then developing some ankle motion to cover the last step from 150 to 160. 140 was already a little bit ankle motion. Okay, guys. So Sam is asking, my springs are loose? My springs are pretty loose, I would say. I wouldn't think that these are tight spring. I would say it's probably 60% tight. It's a pretty slow pedal. I can still do fast stuff in different techniques and not have to, work with a lot of pressure. I don't know what speed this is, but I feel like I just sat down and started the live streaming. I haven't warmed up for a long time before doing this or whatever, so it's kind of like it already allows me to just sit down and play without having to get too much used to the pedal. And so yeah, I would say my springs are probably 60% tight, 50-60% tight, not very tight. My favorite technique on drum is a blast beats. My favorite is a different blast on drums. Hyper blast is your favorite. You used more blast beats from your band. It's not a completely clear question, Powell, but I think I understand. Like, yeah. So probably my favorite blast is the 1 foot blast. Right, so you can do right hand, left foot, left hand, right foot, right hand, right foot, left hand, left foot. I've practice a lot of different combinations. But then, of course, palm blast. You can use different techniques, fingers. I love blast beats. It's just it's a nice flow, you know, that between the foot and the hand. You can do gravity blast. You can do maybe gravity blast with one foot, very like Cataclysm type of a trademark, or gravity bomb blast, gravity 1 foot blast. I don't know, guys. You can get creative with this stuff. The reason why I've developed multiple sorts of like coordinations with the blast beat, in the sense of like doing right foot, left hand, right foot, right hand. It's because when I play a blast and I want to free one hand, I need to be able to keep control no matter what's happening in the right hand in this case. So what I do is I basically play the right foot, okay, as a main source of control. This is where like all my control is. I'm thinking about this, and then my left hand plays in reference, right? It's playing as a consequence, so it plays in reference to my right foot, and this becomes like a grid for my right hand. If I want to play the first quarter note, I'm not thinking this is complicated. And then I want to switch 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I would switch on the upbeat of 1. It's not easy, and it's not stuff that I've practiced for a while, but it gives you the idea. So everything it's controlled by here, and then my left hand is playing as consequence, and my right hand I can kind of move it around, and you know, if I'll have time to practice, I'll go back practicing, and not only playing and teaching, but you can move around. That's the point. You can free your limb and just work on not metric modulation, but like shifting 16 notes and do all of that stuff. So I love blast beats too. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with blast beats, even if at the end of the day gives a very similar effect. But that's also a little bit the groove of, you know, metal, extreme metal drumming. Like people listen to that stuff because they want to hear that. So it's like you know, in the pop, in disco, and it's just, you know, a foundation of the general music. Danica is asking, what exercises can you recommend to strengthen the weaker foot? So that's a great question, and it's also a question that can go in a lot of different directions. My idea is that once you have the two main techniques for the foot, you can do a lot of things. You can be very dangerous. So first technique is the leg motion, second technique is the ankle motion. These are the two techniques that, in my opinion, are like, everything else is a combination of these two. Like the heel toe is leg motion and ankle motion on the way up. Swivel, it says ankle motion, but lateral ankle motion, right? And then when we go from, well, heel down is an ankle motion, heel up is an ankle motion. So all of these techniques are based off of ankle motion. So strengthening, a lot of people suggest like, oh, just do, you know, double strokes with your left foot and whatever, but that's a long path, in my opinion, to develop certain things. Unless that's not a specific thing that you need to learn, then there's no need to go and learn a bunch of different techniques just to learn one pattern. So if it's hey, I need a song that where I have to do that, then do that. But if you want to, in general, free your left foot or your weak foot, these are the two things that I would do. I would, first of all, work with no pedal and just make sure leg motion, it's, comfortable. So doing this type of thing where you don't have tension and you're not, the ankle is not joining whenever you don't want it to, but it's just like, make sure that this is the first step. Second step, isolate the leg and just work with the ankle. You can do heel up or heel down. Heel down will train more the shin muscle activation and deactivation. I was talking about this yesterday on yesterday's live streaming, but basically we don't want to make the muscles stronger. That's not the point of technique, because if not, it wouldn't be technique, because technique is to avoid physical thing. Like if you throw a rock and you use explosive power, that's strength, right? And the more you can push, the more the result. If you use the technique, you use the whipping motion to throw a rock, it's not correlated to strength. It's correlated to the motion. How fast can you generate the motion? That's the concept of Bruce Lee, right? Like, why could he generate so much power with very little space? It was because it was a whipping motion. The energy was coming from the motion, not explosive power. Same thing is happening here. We don't want to train to make the muscles stronger. We want to make the muscle more relaxed and more elastic as you're playing, right? Okay, so heel down or heel up, both actually should be trained, because the heel down trains the up motion, the heel up trains the down motion. So it's both sides of the motion, right? So you want to do that. Then usually what happens is we go on the pedal with the spring and everything kind of falls apart because it's like we have a hard time dealing with the spring. So a good exercise is to remove the spring and just isolate the motions with no spring. So this would be leg motion with no spring. And you learn to synchronize to the pedal. This is no spring, guys, okay? Pedal is just relying on the rebound. And you go with the leg motion or ankle motion. And the good thing is that you can go as slow as you want, like the speed at which you were doing this on the floor, you can reproduce it on the pedal with without the spring. You want to make it comfortable and as fast as possible, at least all the way to the bridge speed, which is when you then can put back the spring. There you go. So more than an exercise itself, I don't believe in exercises that fix the problem. Let me explain. It's not about the exercise, because if it was about the exercise, we have 1 trillion exercises online. YouTube is full of that stuff, but it's still not enough, because it's not about the exercise, it's about how you do the exercise. It's about knowing what's happening while you're practicing, right? So if you, but let's say that these exercises are targeted to fix and work on specific things. So for example, the heel down with no pedal is targeted to fix the up motion, train the up motion. But if you train the up motion in the sense that you think that the shin muscle should become stronger, then nothing is going to happen. You're going to waste time. Then go to the gym and lift weights, But it's not going to fix the problem, because if not, bodybuilders will be faster than drummers, but it's not the case. So you need to deactivate, and that's where all the work starts, okay? But then the body understands, and you're already close, like you're on an exercise that forces you to figure that out. Remove the spring, try to do exercises without the spring, so you can basically still work on your body motions, develop your body motions, but already on the pedal, without the pressure of the spring. Then when you're comfortable, you put the spring back on, and you get used to the spring and you work with the spring, okay? So it's not about the exercise itself, it's more the system and the method. And there's, like you do exercises with no pedal on the floor, you can do a lot of things. You can do specific techniques. You know, you can work on the slide, right? The slide technique. That then, if you go on the pedal, it's this type of thing. Heel up, heel down, heel toe. You can do everything on the floor, and so you can already come up with many ideas and many exercises. So it's not about the exercises. What are you trying to get out of the exercise? What are you trying to train? Like you play a pattern, okay? Like Michael Jackson, famous. This is my left foot, so it's not my main foot, but you know, you can play this pattern as much as you want. And what are you gonna get out of it? You know, it's more the work, it's more the difficulty of the exercise than what you get out of it, because it's not targeted. It's too much going on, you know. So that's what I would do, Danica. I hope this was. And again, I remind you guys, if you guys I'm just saying generic things. This is what usually happens, but if you want me to see what's happening, and there's a specific thing, or you want to be followed, like guided throughout your development of foot technique, hand technique, coordination, whatever, independence, whatever you guys are working, I do this type of live streaming, and I basically allow people to send me questions and videos. If you join jamespaintdrums.com, you can scan the QR code. You have 7 days free, so I really suggest you can test it out. It's free for 7 days, for a week, and you just join, and you will join one of our live streamings and see how it works. And the live streamings, they also stay recorded, so if you cannot join in that day, in that moment, because of the time zone difference or whatever, you can still send the questions. I will reply on the questions, showing whatever needs, you know, to be fixed. So you have personal feedback, and then you can go and watch the recorded live stream. Okay, it's like this, but in a way more personal way. I can see what you guys are doing, and I can say, hey, I spotted this in your video. Your heel is too low. Try to do this exercise. You should fix that thing. And I do all of that in jamespaintdrums.com. So yeah, why not try it for 7 days free? You can cancel before you get charged if you don't like it, and absolutely no problem. Awesome. So, you're a really great drummer. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Joseph. I spent a lot of time on technique and researching this stuff. I really like it, so I appreciate your words. Would you recommend practicing things like paradiddles on the kicks? Well, again, paradiddles on the kicks, what is it? What are we training, right? Why? My question is always, why would I do that? I do sometimes practice this, because it's a good application exercise. What does that mean? I know how to do single strokes. I know how to do double strokes. When you put them together, you create this you know, flow and work where it's a kind of like a gym for these two techniques. So if that's the case, this is very good to make my synchronization with the pedal, you know, there's a flow in my ankles and legs, so it's a mix of the two things. But if I'm trying to reach, you know, something else, I'm not going to do the paradiddle on the feet to learn to play single strokes, 16-note single strokes. It will help. How can I explain this? So, let's say when you go to the gym and you do push-ups, it does help to grow the arms too, right? But if you do, you know, whatever this is called, it targets the biceps better, right? So if you want to work on this, the more you target the area, the better. So here is the same thing. Like, this is good because it's teaching, like, it's mainly an exercise that works on the slide technique, which I use. I use a lot of the sound is echoing. Okay. Thank you for letting me know. The reason is probably I could try and remove one of the microphones, and if you guys can let me know if the sound is better, that'll be great, because yeah, this, as I was saying at the beginning, these are still my first live streaming, so I'm still setting everything up in a way that you know, everything sounds great. I also have another drummer playing close to me, so hopefully that's not in the way. Anyway, yeah, so this exercise will train that specifically, and the okay, so I'll put it back on. Hopefully it'll come back. It should come back. If not, I will fix this in a second. Anyway, so paradiddle on the feet. It's a good kind of like gym exercise to shift from, you know, singles to doubles. But that's pretty much what it teaches you. It loosens up the ankles a little bit. But let's say it's an advanced stage exercise. So if you have like, if you want to again play single strokes, fast single strokes, that's not going to really be the best exercise. If you are more of like you know, you need more how you call it, like gospel chops type of drumming, where you have a lot of those single and double strokes put together, then it's a good exercise. Okay. Are you alternate heel after toe toe? Well, that depends. Like if you learn the heel toe, so the slide technique, it's not the heel toe, right? So I was doing slides and not the heel toe. But anyway, I've never developed the double strokes, the heel toe double strokes. I know how to do heel toe. Once you know how to do heel toe, this will be heel toe toe. So it's single strokes. Doing this double strokes, you will end up in a more of like a press roll type of thing, because the spacing of the notes is way less. Like if you do singles, you have this amount of space. If you do doubles, you're doubling the speed. So there's way less space in between the notes, so you have to do a little bit more of a press roll, which is not my style, so I've never really developed it. But let's say that once you learn the heel toe, you can apply this however you want, right? Sixtuplets, I know what you're looking for. You're looking to cover probably like those areas where it's not leg motion, it's not ankle motion. So you be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sixtuplets or mid-tempo type of techniques. That was my first approach. This is why I've learned to do this. So I would have done something like around this speed. It was helping, but the problem is that it's a lot of work, especially if you go down to a certain speed, or it's a very limited approach. So honestly, heel toe, it's not too bad. I feel it's a little bit too much work for this speed. What I've learned is just to kind of like work with leg motion and so this is full leg ankle motion, this is leg motion, and the sixtuplets, it's a hybrid between leg and ankle. Can you see my left foot? I will have to change this camera angle, but anyway, it's a little bit of ankle, a little bit of leg, and Yes, I know what you mean, because it's a technique thing. So there's two factors: technique and coordination. The technical aspect is the fact of you have a hybrid motion. It's partly a leg motion, partly an ankle motion, because it's too fast for only leg, too slow for only ankle. So uh, 10 minutes ago I was talking about how I suggest you to go back and watch this video when the streaming is over, because I did a full example from 100 to 160 BPMs showing what happens. But basically, let's say if I go from 8 notes, I would put my feet all the way on top of the pedal, 6 stoplets. I go in a lower part of the pedal, I keep my ankle relaxed and my heel is low. I'm not doing this, because you can see how it limits the beaters, while this keeps way more a more relaxed approach. The more I raise the heel, the more I block the pedal. And then if I have to go 16 notes, I would go back up on the pedal board, raise the heel a little bit, because it's full ankle motion, right? So okay, so this is almost a heel down, but it's not a complete heel down. It's like a heel up with a very low heel, and it's partly leg motion. The motion, I still feel like the motion is coming from here mainly, and not from the ankle. Okay, so, but mostly the two factors that really help me in dealing with these tempos is where I place my foot on the pedal board and keeping the ankle relaxed. Okay, keeping my ankle relaxed and not stiff, because if I go stiff, I will use too much of the muscles and everything falls apart. Then if you do this, it's better to go here, because you have less pressure from the pedal on the upper part of the board than on the lower part. If you press down with your finger here and you press down with your finger here, you will feel two completely different level of pressure. So here you have less pressure. But my suggestion is stay relaxed and keep control from the leg motion, from the hip flexor, and keep the ankle as relaxed as possible. And if the ankle starts to want to join, sorry guys, I'll get to the rest of the comments in a second, but if the ankle wants to kind of like get in and start moving, you can practice this on the floor without the pedal, and you want to make sure you activate the hip flexor. So you activate you control the motion from here, and you don't have any type of activation on the pedal, on the foot, on the ankle, right? So you're not doing this, not flat foot, but it's like raising the leg and the foot is dead, and then you do this, okay, as much as possible. So you teach the body to activate the higher part of the leg and not the lower part. Let me get to the next. By the way, again, if this is something that is getting you stuck or gets people stuck, guys, the QR code is here. You can sign up for 1 week free on my website. I do this type of things, but more in person. So you can show me and we can work together. There's courses where I explain everything, workouts, play-alongs, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of stuff. Feel free to join and check around. It's free for a week. More than happy to have you, and hopefully you like it and you find it enough valuable. Okay, so does your heel touch the pedal for ankle technique? Okay, so it depends. You can do heel down. So the main issue in the question is ankle is not a technique, it's a motion. Ankle motion. Then you have heel down technique, heel up technique, swivel technique, heel toe technique, slide technique, okay, or leg motion. And then you have flat foot leg motion or constant leg motion. So the ankle motion could be heel down, which has the heel touching the board, heel up, which has it's still ankle motion, but the heel is raised, swivel, of course, which is an ankle motion. The motion is not starting from here, it's starting from there. This is moving as a consequence, so it's still a leg motion. Heel toe, which is a combination. It's a leg motion and ankle motion. Slide, also a combination, leg motion and ankle motion. So you can do both things. You can heel down. It's not very useful for speed and fast stuff. It's more a jazzy approach, to be honest, because you want a softer approach. But it's a good exercise to train the up motion. I never use heel down in my playing. I trained it and I practiced it, but I always use heel up. Okay, so that's, I hope that clarifies. Ankle motion and techniques. Ankle motion is the source of the motion. That means it's at the ankle level. And then you develop all these techniques from there. Ankle motion, heel down technique, heel up technique, swivel technique, heel toe technique, and slide technique. Okay. Awesome. So not high heels. Okay, so that's another interesting. I get the joke there, the high heels. I'm pretty sure you don't want to see me in high heels, but let's say that depending on how high your heel is on the drums, on the pedal, you will change your approach. So playing 160 BPMs in this way and playing 160 BPMs in this way, this is way more uncomfortable than this. Why? Because 160 BPM, it's a slow BPM for ankle, and you want let me put a metronome in the meanwhile. You want okay, so now I raise the heel, it messes up everything. But let's go 200 BPM. In this way, way more uncomfortable. I have to press from here. This, much better. Right? So what happens is that the more I raise the heel, and depending on where I put the foot on the pedal board, the more I limit the swing of the beater. The more I limit the swing of the beater, the shorter strokes I have, the faster, the less space there is in between each stroke. So this helps me to go faster but not slower. This helps me to go slower but not faster. Both are heel up, guys. This is not heel down. This is a low heel in heel up. So the heel is not touching the pedal. Heel up, but this two type of, like, depending on how much you raise the heel, you will limit the swing of the beater, and so slower, faster. And then also positions on the pedal board. If I go low on the pedal and the heel down, basically nothing is happening. Like I have to really try to get something out of it. High heels on the lower part, you have this type of like twitching that some drummers use. Same thing, low heel on the top of the pedal board, a lot of control. This feels good, nice. High heel here, I'm choking the pedal too much. Okay, so these are, it's always the same technique, but all these little adjustments and differences will make a difference, and the calibration of these two things, so keeping the same technique but keeping the heel higher or lower, it will change the approach to the pedal, and you will have to find a fulcrum point on the pedal depending on the position you have of the foot. Okay, the fulcrum point changes. The pedal has a fulcrum point, so a lot of people are doing the same thing, like they're doing different things in keeping the same position on the same spot of the pedal board. That's why it becomes so hard. Instead, if I if I do this, I feel like I'm holding the stick here. It's too much in the front, nothing is happening. But if I go more in the center, I feel way more fulcrum of the pedal. So here I can really work with the pedal. Okay, guys? So these are little things that make a difference when we're developing and playing. replying to more Adam depend. For example, the drummer use heel high. Exactly, and now you can recognize, like you can see, this is another important part, guys, and this allows us to understand um, the approach and also the efficiency of what we see when we look stuff around online, right? Like if you're an expert in a sense of like you do this every day and you see tens of different foot ankle motions every day, you see efficient approaches, inefficient approaches, what, and then it's different to say right or wrong. I don't want to say it's right or wrong, but I say because it works. You see drummers that are not technically very skilled and developed in the sense that they haven't spent hours and hours practicing technique. I'm not talking about Mario. Mario is an amazing drummer, but I'm just saying in general, sometimes you see drummers that are like, wow, the technique looks off, but it sounds great. Okay, so but maybe he's doing 3 times the effort, physical effort that he could do doing something else. Still sounds great and works. So it's about efficiency more than right or wrong. But if you see this, what you see is the dynamic, the spring, the beater action, and the speed, right? Like you know that it could be this, and instead is this. You understand that the outcome of the input of the work that it's done, it's not as efficient. There's more tension, right? And less result. Does it work? It works. You put a microphone, this sounds, okay? So I'm not talking about right or wrong. I'm just saying this is not as efficient as this because this more relaxed, so less work for more results, more control and more dynamic. Okay, it helps us to recognize. I spent hours, guys, looking at drum videos with no audio, and I would imagine the sound, and then I would turn on the sound, and it would be like completely different. It would be like, wow, I would have not guessed that that dynamic would produce so much sound. Okay, so it helps you to recognize a little bit. Be like, wow, that's a very low dynamic, and it sounds massive. A lot of editing, maybe a lot of post-production, right? Okay, so it's just to orient ourselves when we see things, because a lot of people are confused by, say, amazing drummer doing something in a way, and then an amazing drummer doing the same thing in a completely different way, and you're like, what is right with what is wrong? It's more about efficiency. You can recognize how much physical work is he doing for how much result. Let me see the body motion, and then let me see the beater motion. A lot of body motion for a little beater motion, maybe not amazingly efficient. Very little body motion for a lot of beater motion, that's it more efficient. Okay. Replying to Ram, Sam Frank, but it's the type of shoe, a high heel. Yeah. I got that joke. That was a good joke. There's a lot of high heels players out there, so I'm pretty sure some of them are way more interested in my high heels or heel up or heel down. But here I limit myself to technique, guys. Anyway, I love this because you guys interact with me, so thank you for being here. And if you have more questions that I can answer here, more than happy to do it. If you want a more in-depth thing, if you want to be more guided, if you want to have step-by-step courses designed in this way, a lot of this data and a lot of this stuff came out because of the research that I did, but also because I participated to the drum biomech research. It was a biomechanical research where they've put a bunch of electric sensors on my body, and then they had me doing different things, slow stuff, fast stuff, heel up, leg motion, swivel. It was mainly on the heel up ankle motion, but we tested a few other things, and then we checked the balance, we checked endurance, and we had a bunch of data that help us understand what is happening, what is going on. Okay, from posture, there's correlations. We could see drummers sitting in a way that were performing in a certain way, drumming with certain lower back activation that were performing in a different way, endurance correlated to tension and all of that. So it was very interesting. I designed my courses based off of that data too. So you find everything on jamespaintdrums.com. You can join for 7 days free and test it out. And you can join the courses. You can join one of our live streaming in this free trial week. Initially, I really wish there was one for the hands too. I really wish, you know, we had enough resources to do more and more of this. You don't understand how important this was for somebody like me, that I'm so into this and I'm so nerd on this stuff. When I was there, I could see in the data everything that was happening, and a lot of the stuff was like what I was feeling. I was thinking, I think this is what is happening. I think that is what is happening. And seeing the data confirming and expanding a lot of the stuff that I was just kind of like assuming, I was really amazing at. Same. I wish there was for, you know, more than only the ankle motion technique, but also swivel, heel toe, and also for the hands. 100%, man. It will be amazing, but it's very, very, very expensive to do those things, in the sense that we used a lab that it's been also used to prepare French athletes for the Olympics, right? It was the same lab, so it's not homemade, you know, Amazon test. That was an actual. There's a you know, a theory, a formula, and then the tests based on the formula. And there's so much data that was incredible. And Orally did an amazing job at putting all the data together and releasing it on the website. And I still use so much of that stuff nowadays. I would have way more questions. So hopefully we can get a second run. We need the support from the people to do this stuff, because it has to be sustainable. It's very expensive to do it. So I feel like we were lucky to have that chance, and hopefully we'll get another one to have more answers. Thank you, Mort. I hope, like, this is just honestly, this is just a generic hint at things that I know that are kind of like blocking people. This stuff goes even deeper, but if you go deeper here in the generic format, you will overcomplicate things and confuse. So I want to keep it somewhat, you know, deep but clear. But in my courses, I really like developed all this exercises designed on this stuff. So it's what I've used on myself. Well, I wish I had this when I started off, but it's what I've developed on myself and then on testing on students. Also because not everybody is the same. Like, not everybody goes like, even on our body, we're right-handed and left-handed. So our right hand or right foot works differently than the left hand and left foot. There's a whole thing about that, and it's very interesting. So so you have to kind of like find the right ways and the right paths. That's why coaching is important. That's why I do the live streaming and stuff like that, like in a way more personal way on my website, because I know the exercise, it's not enough. It's a good exercise is already helping, but then the coaching part, it's what makes a difference. Okay, so if you guys want to join and test it out, you have the QR code on the corner, and I'm more than happy to see you guys there. A great human being, a phenomenal drummer. I really appreciate the nice words. SEX Blast Beat Castro, thank you. I learned a lot in this live stream too. I'd love to see more. I'm currently working on a song called Fire in the Hole by Laz Rocket, and it's got fast double footnotes in the whole song. So endurance, yes. Endurance, I have to unfortunately leave you guys now, but endurance is another very interesting topic. And just a quick hint, it's not about strength. It's not about being able to sustain a lot of physical fatigue. It's about deactivating the muscles as much as possible. When we do motions, leg motion, we activate hip flexor, deactivate hip flexor, activate hip flexor, deactivate hip flexor. If we keep the hip flexor activated, we end up with a constant contraction. Constant contraction is is what we want to avoid. Constant contraction is what makes the muscle and the body tired soon. And so the more we can deactivate, the better. That's why I talk about efficiency. So a lot of constant contraction, it's going to be hard and we're going to get tired soon. Deactivation, so a more efficient way of moving the body and taking advantage of external forces like the springs, instead of working against it, but take advantage of the springs so that the pedal does the work for us, and the body is just kind of like keeping the momentum active. So if I activate my pedal and then I do this with my finger very, very slightly, you see how much output I get. Like there's barely anything that I'm doing with my finger, and the pedal is constantly moving. If I work against the pedal, this is so much more work. Okay, so taking advantage technique, this is what technique is taking advantage of external forces and using our body motions in an efficient way. When you learn how to do that and what it means, which is correlated to deactivation of the motion while you're doing the motion, so activation, deactivation, activation, deactivation, you develop a more efficient technique, which means more control, more endurance, more power, and it benefits everything. Okay, guys? Awesome. I hope this was helpful, guys. I'll try to do this as much as possible. Eventually, hopefully I'll see you tomorrow, or if you join my website, again, 7 days free, I'll see you there, and we do a lot of this stuff, but way more in a personal way. I can see what you guys are doing, and I can help you out, coach you throughout the week, okay? Awesome. Thank you for being here, guys.